Hello and welcome to another episode of the A-10 Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. Rob Dauster here. I have Jeff Goodman with me. We're going to be joined in just a few minutes by Jaylen Haynes from George Mason, the guy they call Big Slime. We'll talk about why he has that nickname in a little bit, but he's averaging 22 points and 9 rebounds in the last 2 games. George Mason's been on a 4-game winning streak, and he is averaging 18 points and 7 rebounds in those 4 games. What's happened with George Mason? How have they turned their season around? We'll get into that with Jaylen here in just a minute. Before we do, Jeff, I want to talk to you just kind of about the state of the A-10 overall, especially at the top. Dayton and VCU, both of them had MTEs last week. Both of them lost their first 2 games of the NTEs. In I will say, disappointing is the wrong way to phrase it, but frustrating fashion. There were games they could have won and had a chance to win, and were not able to win. Dayton against North Carolina, VCU against Seton Hall and Nevada. I thought Dayton actually, they have the 18-point win over UConn. They played really well against a couple of top 10 teams. I came out of there saying I think Dayton is very, very real. I think they are in the mix as a top 25 team in college basketball. I don't know if they have the resume to get ranked there, but I think watching them, they passed the eye test. What do you make of Dayton and VCU so far after their MTE performance?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they didn't just hang in there with Carolina. They hung in there with Iowa State. They could be a top 3 team in the country on a neutral court. So, yeah, I mean, I think if you're Anthony Grant, you got to feel pretty good about your team right now. You've got a healthy Malachi Smith, and you got a lot of pieces around him, right? Cheeks has been good. Santos, we know what he can do. Posh, Alexander comes in, gives him 2-point guards. So I like the makeup of this team, although it's very different than a year ago. They've been tested. We know they've been tested. VCU, listen, I saw it down in Charleston, and they struggled. They lost to a Seton Hall team that, frankly, has not been very good so far this season, and lost to Nevada. Good Nevada team, but they haven't been great either. And then they finished, luckily, with that win against Miami. I want to see more from them. I feel like today, Rob, if it were me, I would have Dayton way up here and then VCU down a notch. Clearly, I think Dayton is clearly the favorite right now, which we weren't saying a month ago, right? I mean, VCU was picked to win the league. I think it's flipped. I think right now Dayton's a clear favorite. VCU 2, and then we got some wild cards after that.
Yeah, I think VCU is still really good, and they're right there in the mix. But I would
Me too.
probably rank them the same way. There's two other teams that were kind of in that top 4 on media day when the poll released were St. Joe's and St. Louis. And St. Joe's has showed us how good they could be so far this season, right? They beat Texas Tech. They beat Villanova. Those are both going to be wins that have a little bit of longevity to them. They also lost to Central at home, and they lost to a good Princeton team. I don't even want to call the Princeton loss a bad loss, because Princeton, like the Ivy League, is always really good, and Princeton's going to compete for that Ivy League championship, and they might have a pro in Xavier Lee. But St. Joe's, we kind of ride that wave with them every year, and then St. Louis, what they can be. We've seen the talent. Robbie Avila has been banged up for a while. He is back, but he is not yet playing at 100%, and they look like they really haven't clicked and found the way that their offense can roll. Where do you see those two kind of standing right now? And not just big picture. I'm talking like, is there any chance for them to be able to get an at-large bid in the tournament at this point?
I mean, they got to go on a crazy run in league play. Any team not named right now, I think Dayton, VCU, and Loyola, is going to have to go on a crazy run in league play and maybe win the league regular season, or certainly finish top 2 to have any shot. Now, again, the good thing is you look around the country and you say, where's that depth? There's some really good teams at the top, but every year we say it right now. So there's still hope. But again, the problem right now in the A-10 is how many resume wins are there? Dayton is obviously the biggest one. VCU's in there as well. So you're going to have to, if you're St. Joe's, if you're St. Louis, you've got to beat those teams to have any shot at getting in the at-large conversation.
Yeah, what I would say is that I think St. Joe's probably has a better chance because if you make a run through the A-10 this year, they get Dayton. They have Dayton at Dayton. They have VCU at home. So you make a run through it, you already have a resume win in Texas Tech. There's a chance that ends up being a top 25 win. I'd be shocked if it's not a quad one win at the end of the day because it was on a neutral court. And you beat Villanova. I know you got a loss to Central, but there's going to be a lot of teams that don't have great losses in the Big East this year, in the ACC this year. There is no Pac-12 this year, so there's going to be at-large bids available for a lot of these programs, and St. Joe's has a couple of wins at the top. The Bonnies are 8-1. Rhode Island is one of 13 undefeated teams. Loyola is
Archie Miller, baby.
Is one of 13 undefeated teams. Out of those three, which one are you buying the most? Who are you saying has the most kind of staying power as a potential Atlantic 10 regular season contender?
Out of URI, St. Bonaventure, and George Mason?
Loyola.
And Loyola. Yeah, I'm buying Loyola. Because he's done it. He did it 2 years ago. They had an off year last year. I know they haven't really played a great slate so far, but they won at Princeton. Obviously they got some games coming up here that are dangerous. You got
South Florida at home, San
yeah.
Francisco on a neutral.
Yeah, I mean they're both games you could lose if you don't play your A or B plus game. But there's a scenario here where you could see them going into conference play, Rob, undefeated. I mean, South Florida, winnable at home, probably should win it. San Francisco on a neutral court, could go either way. Then you get Canisius at home and Oakland on a neutral court. You could go into that January 4th game against VCU at home undefeated at 11-0. And then I think people will start to take notice a little bit more of the Ramblers. And, again, then you're one of, 5 teams that are undefeated. And no matter who you played at that point, people talk about you then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I mean, Justin Moore, the Drexel transfer has been awesome for him. Miles Rubin's a really good rim protector. We know how good Des Watson is. Like there's pieces on that Loyola roster. What I will say is that URI is playing a different style, right? And the Sebastian Thomas kid that they brought back from Albany has been absolutely unbelievable for them. They beat Charleston by 38
100.
points.
Yeah.
They beat Yale. So there's some reason that it's not just like, look, I really like Mark Schmidt, and I think that the Bonnies have a chance to be really good this season, right? But if you're telling me like wins, their best win right now is probably Northern Iowa on a neutral, maybe Bucknell away, right? They won at Florida Gulf Coast, okay. They won at Canisius, nah. So I buy St. Bonaventure in the sense that, like, if Mark Schmidt is the coach and they're winning games, I'm just going to believe that they're winning them because they're good and not just winning them because of the way the schedule shook out. But I'm much more inclined to kind of hitch my wagon to Rhode Island and Loyola at this point based off of who they've beaten and what we've seen. Bonnie's got a big test against Providence on a neutral on Saturday the 14th. Rhode Island's got a big test against Providence. I believe that's in Kingston. Is that Saturday or Sunday? Is this
Saturday? Saturday. It's huge game. Huge game.
Chance for Archie to really kind of put his stamp on this season and put a stamp on the state of Rhode Island. Man, that's a big rivalry game against URI's good.
I've been to that game, Rob.
Yes.
Rob, I've been to that game several times. It's awesome. Like
I'm surprised
I wish I was home.
Come back.
I wish I was back home in Boston right now for that one. But
you do not wish you were back home in Boston.
It's like 30 degrees in Charleston today. I kind of do.
No one believes that. No one believes that at all. All right, George Mason. It's such a weird start to the season for George Mason, right? Because their metrics are actually really good right now. They're sitting here at 6-3. They don't really have a great win. They won at James Madison, which is probably better than a lot of people realize. James Madison's a good program. Even though Mark Byington left in the offseason, they brought in, I'm blanking on his name, from Morehead State.
Preston Spradlin.
Yeah, Preston Spradlin. So that James Madison's going to be good. That one's probably got a little bit of staying power. But like George Mason is 2 possessions away from sitting here at 8-1, right? The loss to Central Michigan. I'm not going to bring it up, George Mason fans. We don't need to talk about it. You probably don't want to remember it. And then you lose at East Carolina in double overtime, a game where you had a chance to win that thing. It's two possessions away, like I said, from being 8-1, and that one loss in that situation was at Marquette, where they were tied with 5 minutes left. George Mason, there is the potential there for that team to like be really, really good, actually, but you just don't see it yet in their resume. You don't see it yet in their record. So they're going to be a sneaky team. They're going to sneak up on some people this year. One of the reasons why they're going to do that is because of Jaylen Haynes, who started his career at Virginia Tech, transferred to East Tennessee State, redshirted last season at George Mason, and over the course of the last 4 games has looked like one of the best big guys in all of the Atlantic 10, Jeff. Let's hear from Jaylen now on what changed for him and what changed for George Mason this season. Let me welcome on to the A-10 Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68, Jaylen Haynes, the man they call Big Slime. We're going to get into that here in just a couple of minutes. Coming off a week where he averaged better than 22 points and 9 rebounds and wins over UNC Asheville and at James Madison. Jaylen, what's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
So we got to start with the obvious, right? You
Yes, sir.
scored 31 points in the first 5 games of the year. Guys get off to a 2-3 start. Last
Yep.
4 games, you've kind of taken off a little bit. You're averaging like 18 points a game in that stretch. You guys have won 4 in a row. What's kind of happened these last 2 weeks during this win streak for you?
Coaching staff, they've been pushing us and tell us to go hard and every day and push each other so it could implement game-like settings. And I feel like that's how it translated in these last 4 games.
What's happened for you? You've kind of gotten it going. Is it a confidence thing? Is it feel with your teammates thing? Is it just, you had a couple good matchups? What's allowed you to kind of take this step forward individually?
More like a rhythm thing, just getting myself back in the rhythm. Been basically took a year off, year and some change off. So just, catching a rhythm, getting my feel back and be able to just keep going and stay in shape, honestly.
Yeah. So you redshirted last season after transferring in.
Yes, sir.
Is it just like shaking the rust off a little bit? Is it kind of as simple as that?
Yeah, as simple as that, just shaking the rust off a little bit, getting myself more comfortable and more relaxed.
What's how has that happened? Was it just getting some game reps in? Was it getting a couple of touches? Was it all of a sudden they're throwing the ball to you in the post and you're like, all right, let's go. I can show off a little bit. I can do my thing.
Just a mixture of everything, just in playing in practice, get some reps off the court, outside with the team and stuff like that, again with coaches. It's a mixture of all that, honestly. So it's just like it's hard to explain. Just like you said, knocking the rust off a little bit. So it's just getting that feel of actually playing again, like against other people instead of just your teammates that I've been playing against with over for like the past 6, 7 months.
Is as you've kind of gotten back into the flow, like what's been the most difficult part about that? Is it getting your legs underneath you? Is it kind of figuring out where you need to be in the offense, timing with teammates? Just not playing for a full year has got to be a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and it's also challenging with a brand new set of guys. So it's just not the same team that we had last year. Just trying to get a feel of everybody spot so I can pick my spots wisely so I can know where they're gonna be at. So it's just a lot not having the same team that was last year.
Mhm. What was the when you're sitting out, like what are you doing during that full year off?
A lot of training, a lot of mental, a lot of developing, get an understanding of the coaching staff and the teammates that did stay here from previous year. Just building connection with everybody so I could be ready to play.
So last year was your third school in three
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Didn't go. I imagine how you planned the first year at Virginia Tech, and you transferred to East Tennessee State, and you had a really good season. I think you averaged like 14-7 there.
Yes.
Um, but where did you feel yourself grow during that redshirt season? Was it both on the floor and off the floor?
A mixture of both, you know. Coach Skin gave me the capabilities, to compete and just be free while I was out there, but also playing some structure. So just be able to do that and also get some feel off without the teams with some individual stuff that helped tremendously.
Mhm. Where did you see your game develop the most?
Um, I'll say be able to use my body more again to people's bodies and be able to finish through contact more And obviously my passing, I think I'm a pretty good passer, but I just develop more off that while just playing with this team here.
All right, let's talk a little bit about that start to the season. We mentioned it before we hit record here.
Yeah,
With Marquette, you guys, I think the final score was 19 that you lost by, but that was a tie game. I watched that game. That was tied late with like 5 minutes left. You had to have about seven things go wrong in that weird ending against Central Michigan. Double OT loss to East Carolina. Like you guys weren't that far away from a
right.
4-1 or a 5-0 start.
Right.
Um, that can kind of break the confidence of a team, and you guys didn't let it. It could have collapsed, but you guys turned around and won four in a row. How did you manage to keep it together through all that?
Just having an understanding with me and my teammates, knowing that, hey, this is a brand new team. This is a new start. We try and figure some things out early, and we just told each other that it's better off that things happen now, that's not going our way, than later. So we find a way to figure out what's going to happen later on.
And those are like learning moments, especially Central Michigan. Like you can learn from kind of what happened down the stretch there, right?
Absolutely, yep.
What did you take away from it?
Tough shot at the end of the game. It's a lot of things that could have happened. We could have played harder before that happened, before the turnover, then the main shot. It's just a lot of stuff that could have happened beforehand that we could have taken care of.
You guys obviously have some talent on this roster, right? Like I don't think it's crazy to say, you got what, 4 or 5 Power Five guys that have transferred into the program.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you and Darius from Virginia Tech, KD from Auburn. I think Woody was at Oklahoma State before this, right?
Yes, sir.
Um, a- as the schedule kind of gets tougher now, right? How do you guys kind of keep this thing building in the right direction to try to take advantage of some of this talent you got?
Just competing every day in practice, just going at each other, preparing us for the big games that we plan on having. And, we tell each other all the time, well, we have a good team, we have a great team, we have good talent. We just have to put in the work and just let the cards play where it's all you be at.
You spent a year at Virginia Tech with Darius. Did you see kind of this talent in him? Did you see this ability? He's having a really good year this year, averaging 15 points.
Man, as soon as I saw Darius, his shot making ability, the way he gets downhill, he don't dunk the ball no more like how he used to, but his shot making ability always been there. I always knew he was that type of guy when I first saw him.
Well, we're gonna call him out then, man. How do you get him back to dunking like he used to? Is he too old now? He's a fifth year guy. He's getting a little old up there.
And he's like making jump shots more than getting to the rim. So as long as the ball going in, we can't really say nothing about it.
It's 3 points when you're behind that line. It's just two for a dunk, right? Is that what he tells you?
Absolutely, yep.
So, what's the key to the ceiling for you guys this season? Like, how do you guys get to the point where, let's say, we look up in February, you guys are in first place in the A-10? Like, what's the one thing that's got to happen for you to get there?
Just can compete, just continue to keep competing, just playing hard. That's our motto. Play hard, defend guys because the offense is gonna take care of itself. But that's just our biggest thing, competing and just guarding.
So, you were at 3 schools in 3 years before this summer. Was it nice to not have to relocate and move in the spring to be able to come back to the same place? You finally found like the sandwich spot you like. You get to go there for 2 straight years.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. I had to throw a lot of stuff away in these past 2, 3 years, just moving around and stuff like that. So it was nice just to keep things that's in house, so it wouldn't be that hard to move.
Can you just kind of walk people through, it's when you're moving, right? You are moving. You are packing all of your stuff up and you're relocating, and it's not the easiest thing to do to kind of, find your place at a new school, in a new university, in a new town, in a new state.
Yeah, it's hard, just even my first year had a lot of stuff that I had to throw away, give out to other people. And it's just hard not knowing where your next stop is gonna be, going home moving forward. So yeah, it's pretty tough.
Are you just an expert at running U-Hauls at this point? Is that what it is?
Now I'm not gonna say rent U-Hauls, but take at least two duffel bags and a book bag and going home. That's pretty much my thing.
Throw it all in the back of the car, right?
Yep.
Where does the nickname Big Slime come from? Because I was told to ask you about that.
Um, Last year, former teammate Devin Dinkins gave me that nickname. I was coming back home from a wedding, and they said that I usually sweat a lot, and so that's where it came from. But now everybody just call me Slime, Big Slime. Everybody on the team, staff, faculty, people just call me Slime. So they just took it and ran with it.
Do you like that? Like, is
Yeah,
it
it's cool. It's cool.
so
Absolutely.
they're basically they're calling you slime because you get too sweaty?
Yeah.
Who has to guard you in practice right now?
Pretty much everybody. Just what our the way our defense set up, we run a lot, so it'd be it'd be a lot of people guarding me. So
I
yeah.
also heard that you like to bring a squishmallow on road trips.
Yeah, especially we on that bus, 2.5, 3 hour bus ride, you gonna need that, especially for a person that's my size.
Yeah, is that just your pillow so you could take a nap?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
those things are comfortable, man. My kids use they don't even have pillows on their beds at this point. They have like three squishmallows and they kind of prop them up so they can lay
Yeah.
on top of them.
It's like a portable beanbag.
Yeah, it's not bad. You're from Florida, right?
Yeah, Florida, yep.
6'8", 250. Is that what you're at?
Yep.
How are you not a left tackle?
Uh, so before, I wanted to play football. I stopped playing football after middle school. I wanted to play high school football. But my dad really cut that off. He said, when people look at you, they see a basketball player, not a football player. But right now, that wouldn't be a bad option right now, but I'm gonna continue this basketball thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say you put up 25 and 10 last game. I think you might have made the right decision here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. Best of luck the rest of the season. All right. Stay healthy.